Okay, here we come. We only have 6 in the waiting room. How many signed up?
No idea.
71.
71.
Yeah. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world.
Hello,
Welcome to Wednesday Web Jam.
Happy Wednesday.
Hi.
Hello, Johanna.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm fine. I have been away from work for a month, so now I got to join you again.
Cool.
Great to have you.
Yeah, it's really nice to join. I like the topic today. I really enjoyed the question storming that you had a while back.
Right, that was a good one.
Cool. Hi, Donna.
Hi, I'm not muted.
Oh, Donnie's got a new design.
Yeah, she's on the
It's, I'm on the bridge.
Right.
Hey, Danny.
The exercise for the day.
Hello, everybody.
Hello,
Hi.
Patricia. Kurt, welcome.
Hi there. Yeah, thanks for the invitation.
Hi,
What's
Patricia.
up, bud?
Hello, everyone. Nice to see you.
And
Boa tarde, Patrícia.
Boa tarde.
it's so funny. You wish everybody had their country next to them so you could kind of get a sense where everybody was from.
We can do that.
We can ask everybody to do
Just
that.
rename ourselves.
Yeah, can everybody rename, put their country, put their first name and then their country?
Oh, I love that.
Okay.
Yeah. I want to
Or
do
if they
that.
want, or cities too, you can do cities. I'm going to do Washington, D.C. There we go.
Nobody would know it.
Does everybody know how to rename themselves? Use the 3 dots in the upper right corner of your picture, your video
Or you can
feed.
just click on your name. If you click on your name, if you're on a Mac
Yes.
or something, then it will also give you the option to rename.
So
Yeah, I like that. So Washington.
Christine,
Germany.
you're in Scranton. That's where my dad's from.
Is he here?
No, he grew up there.
Okay.
And actually, I just did a web event last month for a certain campaign because a friend of mine grew up in Joe Biden's house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
So
I know.
were you here when he actually visited?
No, it was all virtual.
Okay.
And I also have a cousin and aunt and uncle who live there in the hill section.
Yeah, we are officially in blizzard mode. It hasn't started snowing yet, but that's the projection. But you can feel it in the air. Yeah.
Oh, good. Well, maybe Montage will open.
That's right. You're very familiar with the area.
Oh, I know Scranton. Yeah, the Electric City.
Yeah.
And Danny in Sao Paulo. So bon dia.
Bom dia.
I lived in Salvador, Bahia for a year.
Good place.
They're nice beaches.
I think that you love acarajé.
Acarajé é muito bom. Super
bom.
good.
Does anybody knows acarajé?
It's hard to explain.
No. Very good.
Michael, we're putting our city and country, or just our country, in our names, so our presenters today can see how international we are and where everybody's coming from. So
Michael just put you here.
The Hague in Finland.
Okay, we're going to get started in just a minute. So welcome everybody, if you're joining us. And we're changing our names to have where we live. So if you just hover over your video and click on the little 3 dots, you'll see a rename option. and you can put your city and country or city and state or city and province or whatever you want to put there. Welcome to the Wednesday Web Jam. We are live. And we're getting ready to go. If anybody has been here before, you probably know we are in what we call the decompression zone. And I just want to let everybody know that we will be recording this session, and it is live casting on YouTube as we speak. So your image, if you have your video on, is being captured and broadcast to the world and will be recorded for posterity. And your voice, if you speak, will be captured and recorded. So if you do not want your voice to be recorded or your image to be captured, now is the time to turn off your video and not speak. But if we really would love to have you contribute throughout this session. Today, we have our guests from here in the USA, Adina Tovell and Dr. Christine Kiesinger. And I'm going to go ahead and kick things off because we have a good program today to talk all about playing with questions. We've explored the question of questions before. This is an endless topic that we can delve into, and we have a wonderful perspective from our pair here this morning. So morning in the US, I should say, on the East Coast. But I'll hand it over to Adina and Christine to give a little bit more of a formal introduction of themselves.
Great. Thank you, Mark. And it's so good to be here. And Mark, you could probably take us off share screen if you like, so we can see everybody, which is great. So, and Christine, just wait. I'm Adina. I'm waving over here. So Christine, maybe wave over here so you see where she is. And we're just thrilled to be here. Ezekiel is not here with us today, but I met Ezekiel and working on another project, and he introduced us to Wednesday Web Jam, which seemed like an amazing place to come and hang out for a while. So we're here, and my company is called Courage to be Curious. And as you can imagine from today's theme and from that title, that our platform is really about curiosity. And we like to talk about getting productively curious. And so a piece of that we're going to be playing with today is going to be around questions. And I just want to introduce for a moment my colleague, Christine Kiesinger, who is here with me today to do this. And Christine and I have known each other now, oh my gosh, it's almost 10 years, I think. And we've been talking about working together in our field for many years, and we've just recently entered into where that has become a reality. And so this will be one of our first times actually presenting together, though we've been talking about this work and each working in our own aspects of it for a long time. But let me just turn it over, let Christine sort of say a little bit about who she is, and then I will take us more deeply into what we're going to do. Christine, you're on mute.
That's the phrase of 2020, you're on mute, or you're muted, right? I'm so glad to be here. I just learned of Web Jam last week when Adina invited me to come and co-facilitate with her about a process that I have benefited from personally and professionally, and you'll get to know more about that as we move through this. But I'm founder of a company called CEK Communication, and I do corporate trainings in the area of communication, conscious communication, leadership, emotional intelligence, and mindfulness meditation. I left academia as a professor after 30 years to come into the corporate realm, and I've been having a wonderful time there, just sort of taking and really innovating all of the work that I did in that context of academia into the organizational cultures and climates.
So thanks. And I am, as I said, thrilled to be here on this platform today with Christine. And we're especially excited to be here because we know that this is a group that likes to play and have fun. And so we're hoping to do that with everybody today. And so what are we going to be doing? And the platform that we talk about, productive curiosity, what is curiosity? Like, I like to think of curiosity as our desire to want to understand something that we don't already know. But when we think about productive curiosity, this idea of that it's really aimed toward things that matter most. So when I think about it, I pardon anybody who did not ever see this, although I think even Barney made it onto the international platform if you have younger children. But, I think about like the Barney child who asked, why is the sky blue and why are the trees green and why are all those things? And that curiosity was part of getting to know the world and getting to understand the world around us. And it was really productive in the sense of learning. But it was also like just totally open and totally just let's be curious about anything. And so curiosity has this notion that is totally expansive, can be about anything in the world. When we talk about productive curiosity, when we talk about it, we talk about getting really productively curious with a goal in mind, with a real focus of what matters and what's most important. So if we're doing leadership training, if we're doing workshops, or if we're in a relationship and trying to move something in a relationship forward, the idea is that there's a goal and we're trying to get productively curious to tap into what's there, see what's possible. So that's the platform. And our goal today, one of the things we're here to do is both to share some of the things we work with around questions, but also to get your feedback because we're prototyping, right? We're prototyping a process to see how quickly we can move an audience from first thoughts to really high level, productively curious questions. And so we're thankful for you for playing along with us. And we're excited to take you through this process and then get some feedback from you. But first, we want to start with a little bit of a playful question. If you are like either of us, you have been spending a lot of time on your computer for the last 8-9 months or so, because I am pretty much glued to mine for many hours a day. So your first question is, if your computer could speak to you, what would your computer be telling you? If your computer could speak, what message would your computer have for you? And just type it into the chat, have a little fun. If your computer could speak, what would your computer say to you? Give me a break. Yes, clean me. I love that one. Give me a rest. Take a break and log off. Our computers seem to be very wise. Stop hitting me so hard. Stop Googling. Stay focused. These are great. Dress your hair. I love that. Please, I need some time alone. Oh, you drink too much coffee. And I'm about to keep that coffee away from me. Go back. Go back, Pi. I like you. Why aren't you wearing any pants? That's an awesome one. Get a life. I'm tired of you. If you're here, then do something useful. If not, go away. I'm more powerful than Pinterest and Instagram and Teams, right? You can do it. These are awesome. So wine does not belong here. I like that one from Christine, right? She's like, wine does not belong next to your computer. Just think what can happen. So yes, we want to make sure this is a day where we are playing with questions. And so thank you for playing along with us in this opening question. And so I want to pass it on to Christine, because now we're going to start to dig in as you're still coming up with fabulous things that your computer would say to you. We're going to dig in a little bit to how do questions drive the direction of our thoughts, words, and actions. And so Christine's got a great activity. We're going to keep on with chat. So let's keep those fingers moving.
Okay. So what we know and what we believe about a productive question that arises out of a spirit of curiosity is, as Adina said, such a question has the power to drive our focus, to drive our direction. It also has the power to shape mindset, which is critically important in anything that we're trying to endeavor to do. A powerfully productive, curiously based question also has the power to create really radical and beneficial reframes that then in turn impact how we're thinking about something, how we then in turn behave, and the actions that we take forward. And this is what's really important to me about productively curious questions. is the question, does this question have momentum behind it? Does it have the capacity to move me forward, to shift something, whether it's in a conversation with another person, an issue or a dilemma or challenge that I'm trying to resolve? So in sum, a productively curious question inherently has momentum. And we also know that a productive question is really at the heart of innovation. But at a deeply personal level, I can tell you that in working with this process of getting very intentional about the questions that I ask, a productive question has the capacity to create transformation in the way that I live, in the way that I work, in the way that I lead, in the way that I love, and in the way that I serve. All right, it's this important. So the process of creating a productively curious question has several different components. That's part of the way in which we teach how it is that we come to creating such questions. But one of the things that we consider very seriously is how a question makes us feel. Because we do know that human motivation is largely driven by how something makes us feel. So if it is true that my question shapes my focus and direction, I want my direction to feel good. I want it to feel vital. I want it to feel alive. I want it to feel inspired and inspiring versus low, blue, diminished, stuck or resigned, unmotivated to move forward. So this is where we really get to the heart of the notion of resonance. Does my question even resonate with me? And tied to that is, how does this question make me feel? What does it inspire me to do? How is this question shaping the direction I'm taking, my thoughts, my actions, and my choices? So I want us to play for a bit in the exploration of the connection between a question, a feeling, and then an action that that question might have us take or not take. So the example that I want to invite us to work with is one that is very real and very relevant. And it actually comes from my own life. It's been something that I've been thinking about over the course of the last few weeks. And I know that it's very real and very relevant for many people. And the issue is the holidays, the impending holidays in the age of COVID. And here in the United States, and likely in other places around the world, we have been urged that we make different decisions about how we're celebrating the holidays. And the directive here has been, please stay in your pod. Please stay and celebrate with the people that you live with. So I'm all for it. I fully advocate that. I hope that this happens and that people follow this direction and that we can all be with our loved ones in the way that we're accustomed to next year. However, what happens to individuals who are, like myself, a pod of one? I have been celebrating the holidays, the Christmas holiday, in the same way. Regardless of anywhere that I've lived, I've been celebrating the Christmas holiday the same way since the year I was born. So, as you might imagine, this has been something I've really been thinking about. What is it going to look like this year when I am a pod of one? So, I want to take you through my process because my process involved 4 questions. And what I would like to do is I want to take a moment and I'm going to read you each question. I want you to put into the chat As soon as you hear the question, don't think about it too much. How does this question make you feel? Okay? Even if you want to close your eyes and listen to the question, just take it in and then quickly chat. How does the question make you feel? Sound good? Thumbs up? Okay. So the issue is the holidays, social distancing. What is this going to look like? Here is my process. First question, take it in. Wow, the holidays are inherently about being with people and celebrating. I live alone. How will I survive the loneliness of this holiday season? How will I survive the loneliness of the holiday season? How does it make you feel when you hear that?
So we have seems sad or depressing, despair, sleep, frustrated, anxious, almost desperate, depressed, insightful, emptiness and isolation, lonely, made me feel as if I wanted to hug you. That's good. Let's get rid of that. Lonely, blank. I will use technology to connect people. Darkness, loneliness, wanting to.
All right, so right away, whoa, I don't even want to get out of bed on Christmas Day, if that's my guiding question, right? Okay, I'll tell you that that question made me feel paralyzed, anxious, and sad. Second question, take this in. Wow, I've celebrated the holidays the same way since the year I was born. What are things going to look like this year? What are things going to look like this year? How does it make you feel?
So we have curious, observant, curious, uncertain, pessimistic, different, curious, some expectancy, wondering, opening up, what you make of them, different, embracing, unsure, open to what could be, simple, deep listening, opportunity for difference, nostalgic. We're focused on the closest people. Yeah, that word is a nice word. Curious again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so awesome. I love nostalgic because that is how that question makes me feel. And it still makes me feel stuck. You know, I want to get out of bed with this question. I'm not so paralyzed, but I don't really know how to move forward. Question number 3, take this in. Although I'm not going to celebrate the holidays this year as I have done in the past, how can I make them feel meaningful when I'm alone? How does that make you feel? How can I make the holidays feel meaningful this year when I'm alone?
So we have optimistic, proactive, hopeful, empowered, in service, committed, challenged, proactive and in control, calm, time to get to work, optimistic, possibilities, hopeful. These move so fast, they're almost hard to read. Optimistic and open, talking to family in other ways, competent, compassionate, self-reflecting and thoughtful.
All right, so I went from, I just want to sleep through the whole thing to maybe there's some hope I should get out of bed to I'm out of bed and I've got a really interesting question now. So I'm more reflective. Now I want to take you into the 4th question. Take this in. If I look at the holidays as a creative time and an opportunity to design something for myself that I've never had before, how might I make this an inspired period of time? How might I make this an inspired period of time?
Purposeful, creative sounds fun and rewarding. Challenged, doing sounds like a fun project. Productive, thinking of others. Playful, sparkly.
Yeah.
Easy and playful.
So I just want you to know that this was really my process. And in being able to have this sort of backdrop is, wait a minute, I know that the question I ask about any given thing shapes how I feel and what actions I'm going to take. I've landed and I've committed to question 4 about my holiday, and I have a great deal of excitement about it. So this was amazing. And thank you. I just wanted us to get warmed up with this, but really reminding all of us that our questions have the capacity to make us feel a certain way, and then which in turn inspires us to take certain action or not, right? And so again, am I moving forward? And this again was just a very personal example, and is really a way in which you can apply some of the principles of what we're talking about here to your personal life, to something that might be weighing heavy on you, or, you know, sort of something you might be thinking about or grappling with. Real and relevant. Adina.
Thank you. Thanks, Christine. And I think the other thing I want to point out from reading people's responses, which I think is really significant, is that there was such a range too. You know, even with the first question, while a lot of people felt sadness or loneliness or despair, there were some people who were affected differently, who got curious even at the first version of the question. And then there were people in a later version of the question who, you know, may have found it challenging to respond to. And so the beauty and the magic, I think, of questions is, one, what you can do with them, the versatility and the ability we have to play and construct them, and how they drive things based on how they're constructed. But especially for many of you who work as independent consultants and work with people, or whether in your personal lives, questions are going to land differently on different people. And so part of the art of doing this well is sort of paying attention. How does the structure of this question land on that particular person? Because there isn't, as we saw here, just from your chats, there is not a universal response. And so it's part of why we need to play, why we need to have a lot of tools in the construction of questions. And so we're going to continue our journey. Let me just pause here and see, are there any questions? Because I do have a moment if anybody has a question or a reflection on this, which you can put. There's a great question here. Why do we always have to move forward and grow and develop ourselves? What is the value system behind that assumption? So that is like an amazing question for a whole web jam, right? To have a conversation about that. And, you know, I would say it's not perhaps as much a value system as it is a choice. At least that's how I look at it, is that it's a choice. What I feel like I get from continually pursuing this path of growth, that for me, it's a creative place. For me, it's seeing where we move forward. So is it a philosophy or is it a choice? But it's a fabulous question from Sylvan. So thanks for putting it, from Luxembourg. But we're going to continue to play with it, whether we're moving forward, you know, in thinking of this as a philosophy or as an exercise. And so we want to take us into another scenario that we think is probably also universally relevant to everyone. And then we're going to do a little exercise with it. So I'm just going to do a very quick screen share here, just for those of you who like to have a visual cue to go with something rather than just the auditory. And it's a scenario, it's another scenario that many of us might find ourselves in around time management. And so it says, for many of us, how we manage time and relate to time has been really impacted by this pandemic. So in this next exercise, we're going to play with constructing questions where we think about our relationship to time management. And so just to be clear around time management in this is how we relate to the use of our time. So just in case there's, you know, everyone, making sure everybody understands language wise, how we relate to the use of our time. And so many people were going to workplaces, or the children at home were going to school, or a whole variety of things. But for many of us, our relationship to time and time management has really shifted. And so we're going to do another exercise here related to this. So the first thing I want to invite you to put into the chat is, in your experience during this pandemic, when I just say the words time management, what are the first thoughts that come into your mind? Time management, your experience, put them into the chat. Oh no. Yes, that was one that was on my list yesterday. Tragedy. Oh Lord. Sand through my fingers. That is a beautiful one. Thank you, Jenny. Organize, leak, I think, eeks, freedom, organized, overwork, not again, inexistent. There's only so many hours in a week. Lack of boundaries. Where does it go? For whom? Oh, I love this one. Like toilet paper. Like toilet paper, it's also, I'm late already. It's all relative. Lack of discipline. I can like relate to, you know, everything that's coming through in here. That's amazing. Where is the weekend? Is there such a thing as weekend anymore? So as we think about these first thoughts, we can recognize that when a topic comes into our head, it doesn't just lie dormant waiting for direction. The mind is already formulating direction. So I say time management, and suddenly things start to happen. So now let's start moving in, and we're going to do the second part of the exercise is start converting these into questions. So we're going to stay in chat here. Oh, I just have to read this one. Do we manage time, or does time manage us? That was the thank you from Anna. So in this next part, I want us to now think about constructing a question. And in this first exercise, your questions are going to begin with the word why. So the topic is still time management, your relationship to time and time management. And now construct questions related to that topic that are relevant to you that begin with the interrogative we call. The first word is why. So let's see what happens. Why do I need more time? Why does it fly? Why can't I pause? Why are some hours so much more productive than others? Why limits my perspective of time management, doesn't it? Why does it matter? Why do I procrastinate? Why do I procrastinate? Why do I procrastinate? There's a lot of procrastination. Why does everyone want my time? Why am I only one person? Why does it feel like I never have enough time? Why am I so poor at prioritizing? Why do I keep running? Why bother? So if anybody wants to unmute themselves, I'm only seeing part of the screen here, but if anybody wants to unmute themselves, or you can put it into chat, either voice or chat, what do you notice has come up in response to the invitation to create a why question? Any noticings about the why questions?
Well, Adina, it's Jody.
Yep.
So
Hi,
I
Jody.
didn't post a question. Hi, Christine.
Hi.
Whenever I pose a why question, I feel like I'm kind of judging myself. So
Right.
like, I didn't post my question there, but you know, my mind automatically went to why, if I know that I can be as productive in 6 hours and 8 hours, don't I give myself the grace and the permission to just do the 6 hours and give myself that 2 hour time for self-care? And to me, that's like sounds so judgy to myself.
Right, and Laura from Kansas City also wrote really nicely in the chat here, feels judgy too. And Deb wrote, not very actionable, or I have to do hard work to come to an answer. Kurt writes, they seem negative or doubting. They're more open than our responses. And so some say negative or accusatory. So, you know, a lot of you here work with questions a lot. And so we have this experience that oftentimes why it wasn't 100%. Some of the questions that came through were pretty thought-provoking, but a lot of them had the sense of judgment or negative tone. And we'll talk a little bit more about why that is as we get into it. But let's go to the second round of questions. It will be the interrogative, the opening words will be familiar to many of you. But now think about the same topic of time, your relationship to time and time management. And let's go to questions that begin with how might. How might. How might I manage my time differently? How might I better use my time? How might I keep my freedom? How might I use this time to do something different? How might XYZ be accomplished? Whatever XYZ is. How might I stay focused and on task? How might time management release me from something? How might I help you keep up? How might I better utilize my free time? How might I eliminate major time wasters? How might I stay happy while accomplishing my tasks? How might I give myself more time to process everything? It's funny, as you start reading one, it keeps moving up in the chart. So what did you notice, again, either verbally or in chat, about if you look and scroll through the how mights, what stands out to you about the how mights? Some people are saying
it's
positive.
more difficult to be judgmental with the how might question.
Okay, I think the comment was, which was a great one, it's more difficult to be judgmental in a how might question.
Yeah.
Thank you. It opens more options, more possibilities, more constructive, more optimistic or flexible. It projects you into the future, right? Which is a great thing. We're going to talk a little bit more about what's the directionality of that. So when we had why questions, there was often a directionality of judgment, but also like, why does this keep happening? Things that might relate to the past. How might directs things into the future. And we're going to talk a little bit more about directionality. And somebody says here, it makes me feel stronger and it's possible to solve. So now I want to throw out a third question starter, which is same topic, our relationship to time and time management. And let's have questions that begin with the word when. When. When do I love time the most? When will I die? When do I start again with getting things done? When is time again? When does time become one with me rather than it being over me? When do I need to start ramping back up from this pause? When do I feel that time passes quickly? When do I need a break? When did you become a time management expert? When can I have a beer? When will I find my engagement with a happy and fulfilling productivity? When do I choose me? When should I take a break? When will I find more satisfaction? When is it time to move on? When is time my best friend? When am I most in flow? When do I choose me? So as you scan through, again, either verbally or in chat, what do you notice about looking and reading the when questions? Laura, somebody writes the more reflective, hope, more concrete, actionable, inquisitive. So one person feels like it's like about dreams and it allows you to be really expansive, almost in a dream realm. And then somebody else is very concrete and easy to get started, future oriented, action driven, different perspective and a challenge. They demand some kind of result. So, Kurt, thanks for adding that there. That even beginning the question with a when almost assumes that it has to happen, right? I love that phrase, it demands a result. That there's an expectation of self and a structure for it with that notion of when. So one of the things we wanted to demonstrate just through this piece of the exercise even is what the impact is of the interrogative that you choose to begin the question with. And while there were some themes that came through, there were also things that were just personal to you. Some of you may have felt that when was very concrete and actionable. Some of you might have felt that when took you into a very reflective place. And it could be either, also depending upon what follows afterwards. It could depend on your relationship to it. Which of the three question types, why, how, might, and when, did you find was most demanding in terms of you had to think the most about it in order to construct the question?
Well, that's pretty definitive.
Well, it's interesting. We started off as a
Yeah.
So we have almost an even pattern of whens and how mights, I think, in here. Nobody wrote why, right? Why is so familiar to us. And we think about like how much we grew up with why, that didn't seem hard. People were able to pound those out. How might is this future thinking question. And some of you have a lot of familiarity with it. So that might have come more easily. For some of you, it might have been a newer structure. And when is actually, we ask very few questions in regular conversation about things that begin with when, except like for when's dinner, you know, or when do I get a break? So the idea of thinking about sometimes the least used or lesser used question interrogative, like that starter word, can really prompt the mind in a different direction. So thanks for playing along this part with us. And so we want to shift now to where you get to participate and go in constructing some questions. And so I'm going to share my screen. I want to give you some tools for doing this. And let me see here. I'm going to share screen. And somebody give me a yes so we can see your slide. Can you see my slide?
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, great. So some of the things that came out in our early experiment was the directionality of the question. And so, and the orientation. So does the question take us to the past? And when Christine asked one of her questions, one of the beautiful words that came up was nostalgic. So the question brought us into the past. And sometimes that has a really positive impact if we're trying to be reflective. But sometimes it can be, why does this keep happening to me? Why does this keep, you know, those kinds of things. So we can have a question that is nostalgic that is, you know, insightful for us depending on how the rest of it is. But if we think about the question as a whole, is the question taking us into, you know, a negative or past state, or is it moving us toward the future? Is it helping us to think about possibility? Is it taking us away from a goal or toward a goal? And again, we're not talking about questions in general. At this point, we're talking about being productively curious. So we're talking about the circumstance where there is actually a goal that we have. And so I want us to think about this in this context. But the tools that I want to give you as you move into the breakout rooms and you go on to Mural is, what are some of the pieces besides the interrogative, beside the first word, that dictate the feeling of the question? And the bottom of the chart here is words that we use. Why do I have to? Why do I need to? Why should I? Why can't I? Why does it always happen this way? Why doesn't? Why, you know, these words tend to take us into that lower vibration that Christine talked about. They tend to stagnate us or make us feel that despair or a sense of avoidance that we talked about in her first questions. There are also words that we can include in building questions: want or hope, that how might, where might, choose, discover, explore, could, possible, delight, intend, desire, create, build, or the use of a metaphor oftentimes can help us to feel more future directed. And so we want to take you into the breakout room where we've constructed 4 questions for you in your breakout. And your goal will be to take the 4 questions, which we have purposely constructed as fairly negative, low vibration questions, and to play with your usage of words and constructions in order to make them really powerfully strong and productively curious questions. And have fun with it. Work together as a team, work individually, but take each of them and see, how could I reconstruct, or as Mark used this, remix these questions into ones that would be inspiring, that would be productively curious. And so just to give you a sense as to what it will look like when you get into, well, I was going to give you a sense of what it's going to look like when you get into Mural here. So you can see what it will look like and what you're going to find. Is that when you get into Mural, you're going to find a waiting room that has that matches the number of your breakout room, breakout 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to however many breakout rooms they think we have. And you'll see the 4 questions down the left-hand column, and then together as a team to construct new versions of these questions. And you can have one new version, or you could have multiples. Just take all the time that's afforded to you in the breakout room to work on constructing more productively curious questions. Are there any questions?
Just
Mark has put a link, sorry, to your breakout room Is that to the mural part of the
Go
breakout?
straight, it should go straight to the breakout room corresponding to the room you'll be in. So they don't know yet until they get into the room, but there are all the breakout room links. It should go straight to the version of the mural that we want you to work in. And the instructions is for what to do, right?
Right.
when they get-
And as soon as Mark presses everybody into a breakout room, a little pop-up is going to come onto your screen that says you're invited to breakout room number, whatever. And that's how you'll know what breakout room you're going to be in.
Yep.
So once you get in there, you'll find the corresponding chart in Mural that takes you to that place. And so Mark, they should click whatever number they get, they should click on the link here and that will take them into Mural.
Exactly. So it'll be in your probably, it should stay in your chat, so you'll have it when you get into your room. And once you get in the room, look at the top of your Zoom screen and it'll say room X, and just go to the click on the breakout room link and follow the instructions, I guess, reformulating those questions, right, Adina?
Awesome. Yep, reformulating that. So you have
Ready.
about 10 minutes or so, 8 to 10 minutes to
Yep.
play in your group and
I'll give
come
you,
up with as many varieties as you can.
I'll give you 5-minute warning and 2-minute warning, and then we'll bring you back. Okay, here we go. All righty. So some of you, the folks here, you'll be staying in this room. You are breakout room 1. So if you want to, I will re-enter the link to breakout room 1 in the chat. And if you just click on that, you'll go to the mural. And then I guess, Adina,
Yeah,
over to you.
I am here. I'm like going into Mural as well. So we're in breakout 1. And I see MJ is already visiting and already constructing questions. And so you have questions that are on the left-hand side here. And you can also use the, let's see, the A+ to make. Can we still hear each other in the breakout room?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
I'm just on mute.
I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Because we can talk about these questions too. So this first one, and I think who's been on that?
Yeah, that was me.
How might I incorporate my work life into my personal life or vice versa? So the question was, why can't I seem to separate work from my personal life when I had gotten better at this before the pandemic? I was gonna, how might I think about the relationship between them differently? Is everyone clear about what to do?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I would love some great questions for number 2. Why do I feel like I'm working harder and longer than I ever have before, even with no commute? Let's see. Let's see, how can I take responsibility for my work-life balance? How can I prioritize my work differently? How might I structure my day differently to build decompression times, to add decompression times?
Hi, it's Louisa. Unfortunately, I cannot use mural.
Oh, so why don't you tell us your question and we can add it in for you.
All right.
Go ahead. Let me just grab a sticky for you and I'll do that. Hold on, I'll move this one over here. Okay, Louisa, go ahead.
So they are, sorry, I don't, they are related to whatever we want to ask.
So there's question. Oh, so do you not see mural at all?
No, not at all.
All right.
That's
So there's
the issue. It's asking me for the app, and obviously I don't use the app.
Okay, so there's questions here. The 4 questions that we're reconstructing. One of them says, why can't I seem to separate work from my personal life when I had gotten better at this before the pandemic?
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Okay.
one question. So we're looking for a more effective way to reconstruct that. Another of the questions is, how can I find time for my creative work when there are so many distractions at home?
Mm-hmm.
So any ideas that you have on reconstructing questions, and if you want to think generally about constructing positive and effective questions around your time management as they'd be relevant to you, I'll add them to a sticky note for you.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I would always use the why. So, sorry, not the why, but how. How might I separate the work from the personal life such that I have enough time for my personal life? Oops, sorry.
So good. So now what you can play with is, if that is a question that you might typically ask yourself, what would be another version, or what would be another kind of question that maybe not one that you typically ask? So is there another way? So you began with a how might, what else might you try? In fact, every single question in that row is a how might question, which is interesting. And in the second row, we have all how questions. So different ways of playing, like, is there a when question somewhere? Is there a where question somewhere?
Usually it is, but I think that always after you exhausted some of the how. How might I do this, because that pushes you through more thinking and to find out, more options. And then when is already once you have the option and actually you move into the time, right? Should I do this today? Should I do this tomorrow? Should I build a plan? Should I communicate the plan to the rest of the team, etc., in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. So the part of the exercise is to say that, we can experiment and see what different kinds of constructions might create. So you might have a formula that says how might then takes me to figuring things out. Mm-hmm. What might, and so what we're exploring in this is how different question starters. So somebody has here a question that begins with a what, like what beautiful things am I going to do next week? And then there's another one that says, what am I learning from these distractions? And we talked about the distractions. And then the last question we had here is, what am I having a hard time with time? Why am I having a hard time time blocking? And the question was, there was four different constructions of questions. What cues am I missing that usually allow me to shift from one task to another? How can saying yes only to make time for my loved ones in the first place? Under what conditions do I get stuck on something and just let time slip away?
We need 10 seconds and everybody's coming back. Okay.
Yep. And there's a question, why do I need to time block? There's a nice question. When do I feel like I'm working on something that is creative to me, a priority, and not a distraction? Nice question that begins with when. So it's nice to kind of see us playing with different interrogatives at the beginning.
Absolutely. And welcome back, everybody.
Oh, somebody's going for the round circular sticky.
Ooh, fancy mural skills. Cool. Right, so we have everybody back from the breakouts.
Okay, awesome. All right, good to have everybody back. So this is an opportunity for us to think together about what came up for you as you were exploring the remixing and the reconstruction of questions. What did you notice? What did you experience? And if you, the verbal answers, if you want to go and chat, you can. If you want to participate verbally, this is a great opportunity, I think, for us to connect verbally.
I think it was very positive, Adina. There's a lot of positivity, a lot of, let's move towards something better, to make it better, use it better, be better. Even though it is March. What did I say it was? I didn't tell you this. I think it's March 291st. Okay. Just so you know.
Excellent. Somebody wrote here that the word bank, some of you might have realized there was a word bank at the bottom. I did forget to mention that, but somebody said the word bank at the bottom was very helpful. What else did you experience as you were working to reconstruct the questions?
So what I noticed or what I liked, especially if I think about it now, is that so we worked very much as a team. That you start with a sort of a problem and you're actually fixing it at the same time. You're like, we should have, we should have a better structure to our day. And it's almost like, oh, let's go and do it. So it's very, it's like we're solving by actually reconstructing the question. We are also providing sort of a direction and towards a solution, which kind of felt very positive, very like, there's a direction. Like that.
Nice. And I like that phrase. We have a phrase that we use a lot that it says the question drives the direction. And it's something that I use a lot, that if I find that the question I'm asking myself, and sometimes I have to remember my mind is always asking a question because maybe I haven't actually articulated the question, but I'm feeling badly or a certain way. And then I realize it's because my head is constructing a question of its own. That the question I pose will always drive the direction of my thoughts, feelings, and actions. And so what you've described there was in shifting that construction, we can get to an entirely different place.
And Adina, I think tied to that is I notice that when I'm feeling negative or that something in my life is sort of feels like it's gone into the ditch, if I track back into the question that guided the decision, I often see where that's where the correction needs to happen.
Any other
comments? But I'm precisely where I'm at because of the question.
Sorry, go ahead, Mark. Was that you saying something?
That was Kurt. I'm sorry. That was really insightful and probably the best thing I've heard today.
This is Deb. What I was going to say is we teach design thinking fundamentals, and one of the big things we focus on with all of our students is how might getting them to think in terms of how might we, and then laddering that how might we up and down to get to the right level of specificity or focus, and how powerful that is. And the students at the end of the week always say that was one of the most eye-opening experiences.
Thank you, Deb. One of the things we didn't talk about before, but I just want to say here as we're sort of like concluding around some of the question types, one of the things I love about the when question is that it can be used to direct us to when something was either successful in the past or when something felt good. Because very often when we're facing a challenge or a problem, something that's causing us to feel stuck or stagnant or paralyzed, we can't see our way through, but chances are we have found our way through something similar in the past. And the when question, when have I experienced something similar? When have I felt badly before but come out of it? And how did that happen? So that when that can dip us into the past so that we can grab a nugget to propel us forward, I find to be a really powerful question. And so whenever things get stuck, stuck in brainstorming, stuck in a problem, a challenge or things like that, I love the use of when, because there's almost always something to draw from the past that's going to help us to move forward.
Miriam has a question.
No, it wasn't actually a question. I just noticed that for some of the questions that we had that started with why, you almost have to find the answer and then turn it into a more positively featured, I would say, question. So it's you have to be in that positive mindset to be able to recreate the question positively.
And it's one of the great, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'll say that takes more work.
And that's where it comes, I think, the question that got raised earlier on is what's the philosophy that we always have to be growing, or what's the philosophy we have to be in positive? Like, we don't have to be, right? We get to make that choice. And, that choice it's an active tool that helps to propel that choice forward. And yes, it is about reframing, and it's about, what we most want you to take away from today is the invitation to be playful with words, to invitation to be playful with those interrogatives that, what is that first word? What happens if I look at this thing through a when, through a how might, through a why, through a what, through a what if, through a, where, that we can play with those different ones and see where do they take us? How do we move someplace unexpected? And as questions are one of our most powerful tools for innovation, creativity, and communication, using the full repertoire of resources that are there can be really helpful to us.
Adina, I have to constantly remind myself to do this more with my kids, because you see them doing something or saying something, and oftentimes your first reaction is, what the hell are you doing? And instead you have to say, why did you decide to do that or say that? What was the motivation there? Because what the hell are you doing just sounds like stop.
Even why is like,
right, true.
Yeah.
It's a challenge.
So why and what the hell? No.
So Stephen, and I know we have to wrap up, when we teach our entire productive curiosity process, and Jerry, who's on here, kind of put this in the chat way earlier today, we always begin the first step of it as what matters most. Mm-hmm. And if we're asking the question, what matters most? So my kids are saying something and I'm about to give a response as a parent, like, what matters most here? If we pause to ask ourselves that, then that sort of drives us, okay, if we know what matters most, do I want to be curtailing my kids' creativity? Do I want to be shutting them down? Do I want to be inspiring them do I want them to be risk takers? Once we can start to identify what really matters, it can help us to think about what structure of a question actually moves us in that direction. So we didn't do that today, but that's the part that when we teach our process, it comes first, because once we're really clear about what matters, it helps us to think about what form of question makes the most sense and drives us in the most productive direction.
Right.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Christina and Adina, thank you so much, or Christine and Adina, thank you so much for today's session. We're, as everybody knows who's been here before, we're going to go to the backstage, and we'll have a half an hour of sort of unstructured discussion here in just a minute. But before we do that, I want to preview what's coming up next week, and I'd like to invite my colleague Anupa to jump in. And Anupa, what can we expect next week?
Yes, I think we're going to have a really nice session, and it's a very apt session for the holidays that we're going to be looking at experiences and the value of giving and appreciating through experience design thinking. And I think Sankalita is here with us. Maybe she'd like to share a few words.
Oh, Sankalita, I think you're on mute.
We ended with that. Okay. So hi, everybody. So many reasons to be here next week. Of course, it's going to be the last session of this year. The other reason is that the tables will be turned, and instead of us being the focus, it's going to be this incredible community of the WWJ team that shall be the focus. So it shall be an opportunity to know them better and sort of to design beautiful experiences for them. And the other reason is you can get your favorite drink. It could be vodka or water. You can also wear Christmas colors or not. And it will be 10 p.m. my time, but I will still be here. So that's another reason. So see you all next week.
Awesome. Awesome. So either vodka or water, nothing else. Okay. So just remember that for next week.
Take it as you want.
And we won't judge. We won't even ask you what you're drinking. So cool. Connect with us, please, if you haven't already, on our social media. And thanks to the crew and the team and everybody else who makes this happen. Thank you to Adina and Christine again. And we are now officially in backstage. We're